Welcome back everyone. In this week's episode I'm going to have a go at mending my grandfather's mug that I've cherished for many years with the Japanese traditional art of Kintsugi. This is my grandfather's mug that I've had for many years because he's been sadly long past. A few weeks ago it got dropped and obviously you can see there's a big chip that's missing. But drinking out of it, drinking lovely hot drinks and hot chocolate and even having sort of soup in it, reminds me of him. Kintsugi is the Japanese tradition of mending broken pottery and ceramics using a special glue called lacquer and dusting it with gold. The idea is not to hide the break, but rather celebrate it. Imagine what we could do if we applied this to life's mistakes and imperfections and how we could see ourselves differently. And of course we're keeping things sustainable, right? This could be any old mug. It didn't have to be my grandfather's mug that I really care about, but rather than just binning it and buying a new one, I'm cherishing the things that I own. So I did some research. I want to have some kind of glue that's going to work in it. I don't really want to have any of the liquid inside sort of touching the glue in here, because otherwise it's going to leach chemicals. But some glues can be really quite hazardous. You definitely don't want to be ingesting them at all. I found some food safe resin. Now I'm going to take it with a pinch of salt because not all manufacturers are being 100% truthful, but if this is fairly food grade, then it means that I'm reducing the risk even more. So I'm probably not going to kind of drink from that area, but at least it'll be safe to use. Now obviously I don't have access to fine gold dust, but what I did buy was some metallic powder, and it comes in a range of really beautiful colours. So there's like a silver one, there's a antique gold, there's a rustic gold, a bronze, and a kind of coppery gold shade as well. So I wanted to have the option to see which one I prefer, because although I really like the idea of doing a gold, also I quite kind of feeling the copper right now, so maybe like a bronze or a coppery colour. Now I'm obviously not going to start with my grandfather's mug because I want to test it out first of all, so I'm going to do a bit of testing. Now at school we do sublimation printing, so we have access to these special mugs. Now this one got broken beyond repair. First the handle broke and then the rest did. So I thought, let's try it out. So you can see it really is quite a mishmash of sadly broken pieces, but I think it's going to be kind of perfect for my purposes. So I'm going to do a dry run first of all, check for how it fits together, but who knows, it could be a cool example of the process later on. We've got this piece back here. I've got a little chip missing out of that one. And obviously I've got an arrangement of handle pieces right here, so we'll see how that turns out. So my previous experience with resin, I've only used it a few times, tells me that it can be really, really messy. So normally I would have some newspaper down, but I don't have any in the house right now, so I've just got some board out of the recycling to save my work surface. You have the resin, and then you have the hardener. The resin is the epoxy, and then the hardener sets it off. So we want equal parts resin and hardener, stir for 3 to 5 minutes, and then let cure for 24 hours. So that's going to be one of my biggest concerns really about using the resin, is that obviously I want to stick these down kind of instantaneously, whereas the resin's going to take a long time. So first thing to do, put my hair up. I don't want to get resin in my hair, that would be very bad news. Now I want to do a little sample of some of the colours. Bronze, I think. Do the copper, the rustic gold. Let's try those 3. Okay, so I've got 10 mils of the hardener and 10 mils of the resin. So although it's going to take 24 hours to cure, actually that's going to be kind of useful for me now for my testing purposes. I want that working time because I don't want it to kick really quickly. I'm just going to guess for now, I think. So Let's do a little bit for this one. And a little bit for this one. A little bit for this one. There are a lot of bubbles in this. I'm going to try and do this accurately, but my smallest measure that I have in my house is a ½ teaspoon measure, which is going to be a lot of powder. And this stuff was not cheap. Put a little bit in there, kind of a little sprinkle, right? Good old mix around. Okay. Oh my goodness. Ooh, the gold though, wow. That is so pretty. Oh my goodness. I love this. This is going to be a bit of a pain to mix though. I'm going to have to keep mixing. Okay, I've kind of made a bit of a mess. I've kind of spread it everywhere. That's not bad though. That's really opaque. That's really pretty. So that's the rustic gold. Let's try with some copper. That's really pretty too. Oh my god. These are so good. And now for the bronze. See, the copper looks kind of gold to me. It doesn't look especially coppery. The bronze looks really coppery though. Sort of rosy shade. It looks so nice. Awesome. Oh my god. These are so pretty. So we've got the antique gold, copper, and then the bronze. I'm gonna just put some in the gaps and hope for the best. I've got a really fine, well, not a very fine paintbrush, one of my finer paintbrushes. If I ruin it, then at least it's not my best paintbrush. So I'm putting it on somewhat thickly. I want it to there to be enough where it's really going to stick for sure, but I don't want so much there's going to be loads of squeeze out. Also, I've just realised I made up way too much resin. I only did a tiny amount of these ones. I judged that really well, that was so lucky. Okay, so that's really pretty already, so you can see, rather than the crack completely disappearing, you can see a little bit there. So the idea really is that then kind of just paint the very edges just to highlight it and make it slightly more obvious. Yeah, a thinner paintbrush would definitely help there. What if I try a toothpick? That is really pretty.
Oh, fudge.
Yeah, this is going to be the difficult part, trying to keep it upright. I will say, when I do my grandfather's mug, it won't be this tricky because there's only one tiny chip. That's not bad, it actually came out together okay. That's good. I can fill those gaps again. I was putting a bit too much pressure on it. I was pushing too hard, trying to keep it together. I should kind of let it be. Really, it's just more tips for life, eh? Things usually work out in the end if we just let them be. It's all a learning process, even when we are covered in resin. Oh my god, I'm making a mess absolutely everywhere. So that's looking alright. I'm gonna swing this around. I'm gonna do this side now in the other colour. And then when all the pieces are on, I think then I'll go back in and try and do the decoration on the outside. I think that's the strategy. I remember watching in Kintsugi, if there's a piece that's completely missing that can't be found, they'll use other kinds of porcelain to add to it instead, which I think is really beautiful. Even if it doesn't look the same, because you know, we have to rely on each other, don't we? That looks really nice. Oh no, I've touched the copper again. Okay. Well, I'm learning as I go. That's why we test. That looks so pretty. Okay, so I've grabbed a little bit of white spirit because I've made a proper mess on the sides of this mug. I definitely don't want all the smeary bits, so let's try and clean that off. Okay, look at that. That's what I need. Try and turn it around without touching it again. There we go. Okay, let's try and tackle the handle. Complete the jigsaw. Okay, not that one, not that one. Not that one, not that one. Something's clearly wrong here. Okay, so this is going to be the top of the bottom, right? Okay, piece number one. There we go. Aha! I did it! Okay, awesome. I'm going to actually attach all the pieces because it's going to want to fall off. Do I need to do it over a mould? Drape it over something? Yeah, this is really tricky. This might have to be kind of a multi-stage thing. I have to do it in 2 pieces and have another go another time. Yeah, it sits under its own weight. I think that's pretty good. Okay, so one issue you can probably see right down there, there is actually so much squeeze out, it's leaking. It does look quite pretty from the outside. Again, I've got a little bit of leakage. So it's going to be about, oh, hello. Oh, that's a lot of squeeze. Okay, so I'm learning to try and get the balance just right. So I think I've done all I can do for today, really. I've had to set down the handle parts. They're just holding under their own weight. Obviously I couldn't do the entire handle on its own because it's a large arch and it's all just going to fall apart. So I'll have to make a new batch some other time, but that's okay. I've learned not to allow too much squeeze out. I was right in the first time. I should have gone with my suspicions. I've ended up using a little bit too much in some places and it's kind of leaking, but as long as I can get my grandfather's mug, perfect, that's what matters. Other things I've learned is don't make too much resin. I didn't think that was much and I used almost none of it. So it's been a couple of days and the resin has dried completely. You can see how tough it is. I literally can't pull that apart. It's amazing that you can join porcelain ceramic together with just epoxy glue. And you can see how in some areas it's actually kind of effective, but in others it's kind of goopy and dripping out. So I think we need to try and do something about that, try and fix it. So to remove these kind of goopy bits, obviously I'm going to need some kind of blade. Now I've got my craft knife. I can just get underneath it, but it's quite rigid and I'm struggling a bit because the blade's quite thick as well. So what I've done is I've grabbed a razor blade for my non-disposable razor, my metal razor upstairs, and I've obviously just put a little protector on one side of it so I'm not going to catch my fingers. And this is incredibly sharp and it's really nice and flexible as well. So yeah, you can see that already. You can see the difference between where it's kind of dripping out, where it's really goopy, and now where there's a much more clean line. Now it doesn't look like much at the moment, but what I'm thinking I'm going to do is use a rigger paintbrush and do a lovely clean line over the top of it. Now what I'm doing, rather than last time when I made way too much, considering the stuff is so viscous, I'm actually just going to estimate for the same amounts so that I've got 50-50 mix. That looks about right. And now I'm going to mix it up. Now the colour I decided to go with, they're calling it copper, but it's actually almost like an antique gold, which I actually thought was really lovely in the end. Now last time I also used way too much, so let's just spoon it out this time. I think that's probably about right. Because this mica powder is so fine, it doesn't really want to mix in at all, but we'll do our best. I've forgotten how luscious that looks. That is just glorious. So what I've done is I've got this rigger paintbrush. You can see how fine that is, but it's got really long bristles. So I'm hoping that it will make for a really lovely, long, even line. Well, we'll find out. Let's pick a nice straight edge to begin with. Here we go. I'm going to have a go at doing a little bit on the inside just to accentuate it too, but it's definitely a bit of a mess on the inside, so do the best we can. So let's have a go at fitting the little chip. Now, what I'm going to do, it's going to be a bit of a risk, but I'm going to put some tape on the inside and I'm going to see if I can fill up this hole and therefore secure the entire thing. So with the tape, I've gone crisscross applesauce and I've tried to see if I can seal it in there. How's it looking? It's not leaking out. That's a good start. Right, I don't really have high hopes to try and get this on in one piece. I think I might have to come back and do this again another time, probably off camera, but hey. So let's brush some of this on and get these two pieces together at least so they can get to drying. So this has been fairly successful. I quite like how the lines are there. Probably have to go over it with a little bit more white spirit just to take some of the smudges off. And I'll have to do the handle off camera as well after the two sides are glued together. But I think I'm about ready to try it out on my grandfather's mug. There we go. So it should be straightforward enough. So what I've decided to do is just to paint the edges, and then I'm going to just go for it. Because it's a nice clean break. It comes together. It is missing a little chip though, so I think we need to do a little patch in there. It perhaps might seem slightly counterintuitive to take off the excess first, but I really want to try for a nice clean line. That looks really pretty. I am so pleased with that. Might have to do the tiniest little touch up, maybe when I take the tape off, but that's a problem for later.
Yeah! Woo!
If you have a go at Kintsugi, let me know in the comments down below. Just remember to use food grade resin and that you won't be able to microwave it after it's complete because obviously of the content of the metallic powder. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a thumbs up. It makes a world of difference to me, and consider subscribing as well for more content just like this. I'm going to do as many craft projects as I can in the future. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you next time.